An array variable can be populated with data when it's created. Simply put a space-separated list of strings to put into the array between the parentheses when creating it. For example, we can create an array called colors by assigning the empty parentheses to it. This array would have no elements. If we put some data in between, separated by spaces, then we will be creating an array which has elements in it. We can go ahead and see how many elements we made. There should be 5. Recall that the number sign in front of the variable will tell us how much there is in the variable. Since it's an array, it's how many elements. Putting the @ sign for the index between the square brackets gets us all elements to count. There are special characters in our variable name, so we need the curly braces around the whole thing. As expected, there are 5 elements. We can see the first element, like always, by asking for the element with an index of 0. We can ask for any element this way. The element index numbers can also be viewed as coming from the end of the array back towards the beginning by using negative index numbers. So the -1 index means the last element of the array. -2 would be the second last element of the array. Even though we have created the array with data elements already in it, we can still add new elements on. The += operator is the operator we use for that. And to add an element, we need to use the array brackets to show that we're doing an element. And simply put the data you wish to add. If we check, we should now find that we've gone to 6 elements. When we extract all of the elements using the @ symbol, we can actually use those elements themselves, the actual data content of the variable, instead of the number, by leaving the number sign off. When we use that on a command line, the spaces between the elements are preserved in the data. So we get a list of all the elements. Note that there is nothing to indicate that there are 5 elements there. There are simply 6 elements rather. There are simply 8 words. We know 2 of the elements are composed of 2 words, but you cannot tell from this. If you want to use these elements, for example, as the word list for a for loop, to go cycling through all the elements and do something with them, it's easy enough to do. We use the for command. We have to invent a variable name to put each element in as we go around the loop. We use the keyword in to separate our variable name from our word list. And if we simply go and get all the elements from our array, it will make a word list for us. We can use the do keyword to indicate the start of our command list to run. Our command list can be fairly simple. For our purposes right now, we'll just display each element that gets put into the variable by looking in the color variable that it gets put in. When we do this, you'll notice it doesn't know that some of those elements were actually multi-word elements. It sees them all as just words. In order to preserve them as elements and keep the spaces in them turned off so that dark space purple stays one element instead of two words, and light space yellow stays one element instead of two words, we simply put quotes around the variable that gets our array elements. So if we take a look at it, we're talking about putting quotes around the variable that gets our array elements, which causes it to preserve the elements as individual items in the word list. Now it works as we expect.